This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Monday, the 13th day of July in the year 2020. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here is what we're tracking tonight. The chairperson of the Guyana Elections Commission, retired Justice Claudette Singh, has rejected the report submitted on Saturday to the Elections Commission by the Chief Election Officer and has now instructed him to submit a new report in keeping with her original request. According to Commissioner Vincent Alexander at today's meeting of the Elections Commission, the chairman told the CEO that if he fails to submit the report by 2:30 Tuesday afternoon, then she will turn to the Deputy Chief Election Officer for the completion and submission of the report.
The chairperson reverted to the 16th of June and has once again instructed the CEO to prepare a report in keeping with the results of the recount and has given him up to 2:30 tomorrow to make the submission. If in any circumstance he does not make that submission, she's already decided that the task will be given to the DCEO. So that's simply what happened.
Mr. Alexander told reporters this afternoon that the chairman was very clear in her instructions. He said the Chief Election Officer was similarly clear in his position that a submitted report was in keeping with the laws of Guyana.
I'm outside of his head. I wouldn't attempt to go in.
Did he defend himself for his decision today in the meeting?
He said today in the meeting that as far as he's concerned, he was acting within the law. Very short statement.
Were there other proposals made today by the other
My own
commissioners?
disposition I've made known in the past is that if we are in fact to assuage the contesting parties, as we said in the order, then the best option for us is a non-declaration. The fact that it was argued that we can use the declarations of the 10 regions has to do with strict law. If you look at strict law, forget content. If you look at strict law, the 10 declarations have not been contested. The only issue in the past which was placed before the 10 declarations was this issue of content. That issue no longer exists. And there's no legal action that questions the 10 declarations. So procedurally, those 10 declarations are available.
The chairman of the Elections Commission wants the Chief Election Officer to submit his report based on the votes from the national recount, pointing to provisions in the Representation of the People Act and other electoral laws. Last week, the Chief Election Officer sought clarification on the request, since he believes it clashes with the Representation of the People Act. The GCOM chair did not offer any clarification, but reinforced her earlier request. Lowenfield on Saturday submitted his report, which differed from the numbers in the recount. The People's Progressive Party objected to the report, describing it as an impasse, while calling for the dismissal of the Chief Election Officer.
I'm somewhat disappointed that she did not go the full 9 yards and complete this process, but has thrown it back into the hands of the CEO, who has demonstrated over and over again a very recalcitrant attitude and a trend of wanting to of actually defying instructions, specific instructions of the Commission. However, I am hopeful that given these very definitive positions as are adumbrated by the ruling of the chairman, I am grateful that we are here, and I can only see us resolving this in as quickly and timely a manner as possible.
The Elections Commission has not considered the issue of any dismissal. However, with the chairman's insistence of the report being based on the recount and her clear indication that she will turn to the Deputy Chief Election Officer if that report is not submitted, there is clearly some growing tension between the chairman and the Chief Election Officer at the Guyana Elections Commission. More news coming up in a moment.
Hello, boys and girls. As you prepare to write your exams, there are a few things you will have to do each day so that you and those around you can be safe and healthy. Please remember, on the day of your exam, you must wear a mask correctly, covering your mouth and nose before entering the school compound. Wash your hands with soap and water at the entrance of the school at the sink provided for 20 seconds. Paying attention to the palm and back of your hands, between your fingers and their tips. Dry your hands with a clean clean tissue and dispose in the closed bin nearby. Boys and girls, your temperature will be tested by an official. Then you will go to the designated waiting area with the floor signs and markings clearly visible, standing or sitting 2 meters or 6 feet apart at all times. It is now time to start your exam. The invigilator will direct you to the examination room. All the best. Boys and girls, playing and gathering are not allowed. Parents, the Ministry of Education thanks you for the support you have given the children during the time at home. However, in the interest of everyone's well-being, you will not be allowed to enter the school compound. Parents and guardians, we are counting on your support in picking up the children promptly after their exam. Remember, the Ministry of Education will provide transport for children who are living far away that require that assistance. Please be reminded that vending outside the school's compound is prohibited. Only authorized canteen vendors with a copy of their food handler certificate and wearing a mask, food gloves, apron, hairnet, and a hat will be allowed. Always remember to wear your mask correctly, wash your hands, and stay safe. And let's win the fight against COVID-19. A message from the Ministry of Education.
Tired of long lines? Register with MyGTT at mygtt.co.gy. That's mygtt.co.gy to view and pay your bills from anywhere. Enter to win an Amazon gift card worth $25 or a bounty voucher worth 5,000 Guyana dollars when you sign up today. GTT, do more.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes.
The following is an important message from the Ministry of Public Health. Getting your workplace ready for COVID-19. Surfaces such as desks, tables, and telephones with keyboards must be wiped with disinfectant regularly, or at least every few hours. Use containers of hand sanitizers and place them in prominent places around the workplace. Provide access to places where staff can wash their hands with soap and water, and promote regular hand washing at the workplace. The Ministry of Public Health has a hotline to provide information on the coronavirus. Members of the public can call 227-4986 or 624-3067.
Welcome back. The chairperson of the Guyana Elections Commission, retired Justice Claudette Singh, has decided to dispose of the 10 district declarations that were made on the 13th of March, and she has replaced those declarations with the certificates of recount. In her decision at today's meeting of the Elections Commission, the GCOM chair said the results of the 13th of March declarations cannot be used at this time, since those were replaced by the tabulation of the votes at the recount, which was hailed by all to be a transparent and credible process. The March 13 tabulations were not disposed of until now, and those tabulations were the ones reportedly used by the Chief Election Officer for his final report on Saturday. That final report has since been rejected by the GCOM chair, and the Chief Election Officer has been asked to complete and submit a new report using only the figures from the recount. Lowenfield had submitted an earlier report using what he determined to be the valid votes only from the recount. That decision came following a Court of Appeal interpretation of the words "more votes than" to mean more valid votes. results. The Court of Appeals ruling was thrown out by the Caribbean Court of Justice, which also dismissed Lowenfield's report. It was on that basis that Lowenfield was asked to resubmit his report last week. However, he sought some clarifications, pointing out that legally, the final report could only contain the declarations from the returning officers. Returning officers were not used for the recount, and based on his report, that might have created a hurdle. But with the declarations by the returning officers now completely set aside, the recount numbers may be the only numbers left in play by the chairman's decision today. Even with the Guyana Elections Commission still to make a final declaration of the 2nd of March elections, the Secretary General of the Organization of American States is making moves to summon a meeting of the Permanent Council of the OAS on the situation in Guyana. In a brief statement on Twitter, the OAS Secretary General Luis Almagro announced that he has written to the chair of the OAS Permanent Council seeking a meeting to deal with the electoral process in Guyana. While the OAS Secretary General did not offer details of that meeting, the letter requesting the meeting was dispatched on Saturday after the submission of the now rejected final report by the Chief Election Officer of the Guyana Elections Commission. The OAS has been adamant that the results from the recount should be used to declare the winner of the Guyana elections. The OAS had an observer team in Guyana for both the elections and the recount, and in its final report it raised serious concern about the declaration process for Region 4 by the returning officer for that region. This past weekend, in another statement, the OAS said the recount should be respected and the new government must be allowed to take office. Let's tell you now that the assault of a prisoner by prison officers at the Lusignan jail was one of the main reasons behind yesterday's unrest by prisoners, which resulted in fire being set to one of the wooden buildings at the facility. The Director of Prisons, Gladwin Samuel, today explained that two prisoners got into a conflict, and during a probe of that incident, one of the prisoners was allegedly assaulted by a group of prison officers.
A prisoner who is assigned to work the kitchen had a confrontation with another prisoner, and upon the observation of the officers, it was brought to my attention that the prisoner was assaulted by one of the officers. Following that, the prisoner was escorted into the prison yard, where I'm advised, based on the investigation conducted so far, our findings would have established that the prisoner was again assaulted.
The assault took place in front of other prisoners who became hostile and started an unrest. When the officer in charge was summoned, the prisoners reportedly said they would calm down if a quantity of marijuana, rum, and a cell phone that were seized earlier from another prisoner were returned to them. The officer in charge did not agree to the return of anything, and the unrest became louder. Within minutes, a section of the prison was set on fire. The prison director said the quick response of the fire service and the joint services ensured that the situation was brought under control quickly, and none of the prisoners was able to escape.
The fire quickly spread despite the prompt response of the fire service and other members of the joint services. The fire was not contained before destroying all of the areas that accommodate prisoners. We were able to save a part of the admin building. As a result of that, we saw the displacement of, a minister would have mentioned what is normally the capacity of the prison, but we saw the displacement of 284 prisoners.
The officers who were fingered in the assault of the prisoner have since been removed from duty at the Lusignan jail, as an investigation has been launched. A separate investigation into the fire that gutted one of the prison buildings is also taking place. Mr. Samuel said the situation forced the relocation of over 100 prisoners to the Camp Street prison, the Tumiri prison, and the Mazaruni prison. As part of the response yesterday, members of the Guyana Defense Force were called out to provide additional security. A total of 11 prisoners suffered injuries, but none of those injuries were serious. The prison director said the security situation at the prison remains on high alert, as it has been for several weeks now. Health matters to report now. Region 1 remains the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic in Guyana. Of the country's 128 active cases, Region 1 has 60 of those active cases. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. Karen Gordon-Boyle today said she is still not happy with the response of Region 1 residents to the health guidelines, especially those persons in the Moruca sub-district.
It is disappointing to note that the attitude of some of the residents in the sub-district of Moruca has been adverse to the basket of health measures that have been outlined for their safety and protection. They are blatantly flouting the guidelines, claiming in some instances that COVID-19 is non-existent and therefore there is no need for a lockdown in that district.
Dr. Gordon Boyle said residents need to follow the guidelines and community leaders must also encourage the observing of the guidelines.
The whistleblowers are helping the health authorities to identify any strangers to the communities, especially those from high-risk areas that may be trying to sneak into the community without the necessary documentation. Friends, we need to appreciate their efforts. They are trying to mitigate the spread of the disease in their community. Please appreciate that the hinterland poses a unique challenge to contact tracing in that addresses rarely consist of a lot number and street, and as such, it is very difficult to locate someone who does not want to be found. And hence, we must work hand in hand with the hinterland communities, relying heavily on them to help identify cases, known contacts of cases, and potential cases who may have entered the country not observing our mandatory quarantine rules. If you know of any such persons who may be of interest to us, please call the COVID-19 hotline in your region and provide the name, location, and if possible, telephone number.
The Chief Medical Officer also reminded today that coronavirus cases have been recorded in 9 of Guyana's 10 administrative regions, with Region 8 becoming the latest region to report cases. Guyana recorded 3 new cases over the past 24 hours, from a total of 78 completed tests. The U.S. Embassy here in Georgetown has announced that its consular section has started Phase 1 of its resumption of operations. According to the Embassy, under Phase 1, the consular section is offering appointments for emergency American citizen services and limited processing of urgent visa cases. Employees and other persons visiting the Embassy must wear masks in all common areas and observe physical distancing requirements. Additionally, an appointment will be necessary to visit the Embassy. While the Embassy has not indicated when the other phases will take effect, it has explained that Phase 2 will see the return of most of its staff to the offices and more processing of U.S. passport applications. During that second phase, there will also be limited visa appointments. Under Phase 3, which will be the final phase, all remaining staff will resume normal operations, and there will be the offer of a processing time commitment for routine services. In all of the phases, staff members and visitors to the Embassy will have to wear their face mask and also ensure physical distancing. Regular consular operations at the Embassy have been closed for the past 3 months as part of the COVID-19 measures. Across the Region is coming up next.
Hi Guyana, it's your boy Kimo Paul here. Remind you to stay at least 1 meter away from persons or 3 feet to avoid contracting the flu or the COVID-19. It is also important that we stay at home and to avoid gatherings of more than 5 persons. We must all play our part, so let's protect ourselves and our families from COVID-19. We must all play our part. The Ministry of Public Health cannot do this alone. So let's all come together and fight this virus.
For further information, check our website www.health.gov.gy or visit the ministry's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter page.
They've made a positive impact on the heavy-duty transportation industry in Guyana since they've arrived. Guyanese are amazed at their power, durability, efficiency, and superior handling capabilities. These are brand new trucks, manufactured in partnership with German, Italian, and French companies. They have a powerful reputation for operating under very adverse Guyanese conditions and come with full after-sales service and spare parts. They're the most sought-after trucks today, with over 500 units in Guyana, and they're available in over 100 countries, including South America and the Caribbean. Be smart. Buy brand new ST Howo trucks today. Call 608-4998 and arrange for an inspection at ST Truck Guyana Incorporated, Block B, Public Road, Covenant, East Bank, Demerara.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Across the region right now, the police commissioner in Trinidad and Tobago, Gary Griffith, says he is aware of plans to assassinate him using foreign killers, but said he is not perturbed and would continue his job to deal with criminal elements in Trinidad and Tobago. Addressing frontline police officers and their families at the police academy over the past weekend, Griffith warned that crime had become big business in Trinidad and Tobago. Last week, the Guardian newspaper in Trinidad reported that assassins from Venezuela were hired to murder Griffith, Superintendent Roger Alexander, and members of the Special Operations Response Team. The newspaper, quoting intelligence sources, said the plot was hatched by gang members. The police commissioner, who was a former senior member of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force and who also served as a national security minister, reminded police officers that they should each be their brother's keepers. He referred to the recent protest in East Port of Spain following the killings of 3 civilians by the police and defended his officers from criticism that have come from several quarters in Trinidad and Tobago. The death toll from the coronavirus pandemic in Haiti rose to 139 after the country recorded 4 more deaths over the past 24 hours. The Ministry of Public Health said the French-speaking CARICOM state had also recorded 37 new positive cases, bringing the total to 6,727 since the first case was detected back in March. The previous day, Haiti had recorded 73 new cases. The authorities said that 4 new deaths occurred in the west and north departments of Haiti, and the number of active cases now stood at 2,924 people, an increase of 50 over the previous figure. And finally tonight, international news. The coronavirus pandemic will get worse and worse if governments fail to take more decisive action. That's the warning from the World Health Organization this evening. The Director General of the World Health Organization said too many countries are headed in the wrong direction. Cases were rising where proven measures were not adopted or followed, he said. The Americas are the current epicenter of the pandemic. The US has seen a rise in cases amid tensions between health experts and President Donald Trump. The US, the worst affected country, has over 3.3 million confirmed cases and more than 135,000 deaths. At a meeting in Geneva earlier today, the head of the World Health Organization said mixed messages from leaders were undermining public trust in attempts to bring the pandemic under control. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.